I think you must have run out of gays at this point to give awards to. It was either me or Tim Cook, and she doesn't come out at night. Anyway, no, I thought maybe you gave me the award because I did a lot this year. I sold my company, and then it got funded at 3 times the amount, so I did okay. By the way, Serafina, I'm a fucking rich lesbian. I haven't heard from you once. Please call me. Please call me. I'm into food tech right now, so I'd really like to hear from you. I still don't understand Soylent, but I'm going to try my best. I thought maybe you had me because I had like a really good year of interviews. I do a lot of interviews on stage. I interviewed the president, Barack Obama. I interviewed Hillary Clinton, which was amazing. But I think the reason I'm getting this award is because of my epic, and frankly, I don't believe the Pulitzers have honored me correctly, Kim Kardashian interview, which I think was groundbreaking. She is actually a fantastic entrepreneur and probably should be honored here next year. She would totally come. But one of the things that I think about when you think of entrepreneurs, it's nice to have a career where you're rewarded for being obnoxious and nosy at the same time, and I do that really well. But an entrepreneur actually is from a French word, and I'm going to mispronounce it, entrepreneur. Anyway, I failed French. And it means to undertake. It means to undertake, to do something. It doesn't mean bury bodies. But you sometimes have to do that as an entrepreneur. But it means to undertake and start something. And I think a lot of people don't start things, and it's really been the best part of my career. I started it late in my career becoming an entrepreneur. I mostly worked for the man, and by that I mean people like Rupert Murdoch, which I can't believe I escaped completely unscathed from, but I did. But it also means, entrepreneur also means a tycoon, a magnate, a mogul, and a hustler, which I think sort of describes me perfectly. But I actually want to talk about one more thing that I think is important, and then Ina and I are going to sit down and do an interview, which I'm a little frightened about, but then I realize I pay her salary, and therefore I have some power over her. One of the things we do on All Things D and at Recode is talk about diversity. Diversity is a big issue with us. We're about to undertake a really large journalistic bunch of stories around diversity, around online harassment, around all these issues. It's been very important to us to cover it. We covered the Ellen Pao trial very heavily, like it was the Super Bowl. It was a fantastic coverage by Nellie, who's here, and also Liz Gaines. We think these issues are important to bring to light in Silicon Valley because there's not enough, it is the world's largest sausage fest. And I don't mean, think about it, everybody, very quickly. It's run by men, it's run by white men, and it's something, but the internet is for everybody, and the internet is used by everybody. And so we think it's really important to talk about issues of diversity and what it means. And so I just want to read one quote, and then I'll stop talking and sit down and talk with Ina, by a guy named Mark Lucky, who worked for Twitter. He was in the news division. Just this week, an engineer, African-American engineer, left Twitter and wrote a very terrific piece you all should read about what it's like to work there. And they're trying really hard at Twitter, and it still is not working really well. But he was referring to another piece, and the great thing about the internet is you link from thing to thing to thing. And this guy wrote some words that I think are one of the best things I've read about the idea of diversity. And we really all have to think of it as gays and lesbians. We have to let everybody in, and sometimes once we get in, we close the door behind us, and we have to stop doing that. We have to really think about diversity almost all the time. So I'm just going to read this quote, and then I'm going to sit down because we're going to be really noisy about it at Recode and elsewhere, and we think it's really an important issue to keep pressing forward in this year. And we think this may be the year where it really might start changing. And all the excuses they have in Silicon Valley, all the ideas about unconscious bias, and again, please stop using that term. It is never unconscious to be biased. It's just not. It's lazy, and it's an excuse for not doing the right thing. So this is what Mark wrote. Without a variety of voices contributing ideas, the workplace becomes a homogenized environment where the potential brilliance may never be achieved. Diversity should rightly be seen as a benefit to growth, not an obstruction to avoid. Imagine for a moment being the only man at a bachelorette party. That's okay for the gay guys here, or the only woman at a packed nightclub. There is nothing intrinsically wrong with either, but is an unnerving feeling. After a while, you may withdraw into yourself and speak less. You need backup. You need people who look like you. Tech companies must reflect communities they serve. If not, they risk alienating the users most responsible for their success. There will be a point in the brief public shaming that a company's jarring diversity reports, and they are jarring, you should read them, will not subside. If the new age of social media has demonstrated anything, it is that a smattering of voices can snowball into a powerful and sustained protest. You guys have to keep being loud. And with that, I'll sit down.